Welcome all, Kev the Movie Dealer here, and today we are talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day and giving you guys my somewhat non-spoiler review. And what I mean by that is that I won't give anything big away that happens in this movie, but there might be some things I reference that somewhat spoil the movie, but not really. Overall, this is a non-spoiler review. Okay, so I just want to get it right out of the way. This is a great Spider-Man movie. There's so much to love and enjoy with this film. And for me, as a Spider-Man fan, I think this is the movie that finally made Tom Holland a great Spider-Man. Like before, to me, I thought he was a really good Spider-Man, and I really enjoyed his 3 movies prior. But also, I feel like the character had difficulty coming across as a lead character in the MCU, which shouldn't be the case for Spider-Man. But in Brand New Day, I felt Tom was a real leading actor playing a leading superhero. But I want to save my positives for a little later in this video. Right now, let's just talk about my negatives, get those out of the way, because I'd say I have 3 critiques of this film. First, I think the trailers showed way too much of this movie. If you had watched all the trailers and some of the TV spots, there really isn't much here that's going to surprise you in terms of where the story is going. All the major fight scenes in this movie were shown in the trailers, and some of those fight scenes, their endings were spoiled through the trailers. They pretty much showed all of Mark Ruffalo's scenes, and through the film, you kind of had a general idea where the movie was going. You can kind of guess this was going to lead into that was going to lead into this, and so on. And you were probably going to be right. I guess what I'm saying is, through the marketing, the movie was a little predictable in terms of where certain scenes were going. Second, it's a little weird that the main antagonist, and I want to emphasize antagonist, for this film is not a villain in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. And I do like Sadie Sink's character, we'll get into her later. But when you're in the 3rd act and Spider-Man is not fighting one of his villains, and he is instead talking to this young girl, and those scenes are great, but I feel like the 3rd act was kind of missing something. I wish Spidey had to fight more of his villains in the 3rd act. Like, for the final fight sequence, Sadie Sink had mind-controlled Scorpion, Shocker, Rhino. I feel like that would have gotten my blood pumping instead of what we actually got. So I guess to sum it up, I think the final fight scene in the 3rd act was a little lame. And then my last criticism is Peter's mutated DNA story. I feel like this part of the film played a big role in the marketing and the first 2 acts of the movie itself. But the film doesn't give a satisfying conclusion to this story, where overall it felt justified in its existence. It really just came across as if Peter has to deal with this serious problem that he's going through, but then he fixes it in a span of 5 minutes. Which is absolutely ridiculous, because he basically solved the problem of mutation with a computer and a 3D printer. It wasn't great. Like, by the time you get into the 3rd act, it's barely an afterthought. I honestly can't remember if at the very, very end of this film, he was using web shooters or his organic webs. I'm not really sure if he decided to use his mutation or not. It kind of felt near the end that they just added the mutation bit to spice things up to make the film kind of stand out and seem different among the other Spider-Man movies. I don't know, I just kind of feel like there are other directions they could have gone with in terms of this mutation, because I actually liked that story when you saw it in the trailers, but I just felt like it went nowhere, so I was a little disappointed. But overall, those are my negatives. I thought this movie was fantastic. I still don't know where it ranks among the other Spider-Man for me. It's not in my top 3, but it's definitely a film worth seeing in the theaters, especially if you are a Spider-Man fan. Get your tickets now. Overall, what makes this movie amazing is the direction of Peter and his journey throughout this film. You know, this is by far the best action we have ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. The use of web swinging and him fighting criminals all along the city, absolutely amazing. And it's so clear the influence from the Insomniac games. Destin and his stunt team did a magnificent job here. And with Peter in his mind he has no time for Peter Parker stuff. He just has to stick with being Spider-Man. The film itself makes it seem like Peter's whole day-to-day routine is being Spider-Man and then being home figuring out how to be a better Spider-Man. Peter basically has become a workaholic. In his mind, this is how he chooses to deal with his loneliness, which is easily the theme of the whole film. All the major characters besides Ned, who's the GOAT, are going through some form of loneliness and how they deal with it as individuals, which is a good transition to the other characters of this film. I felt everyone played their roles perfectly for Peter's story. I feel like the overall direction of Ned and MJ in this film was absolutely amazing. It was perfect. I couldn't think of them going in a better direction with these characters. If you were going to use these characters, this is the best you could have used them for. I love the fact that Ned and MJ, through Peter's actions in No Way Home, are genuinely happy in their lives. They both are doing so well. I mean, as well as you could at that age, living in New York. But it just kind of makes Peter's decisions all worth it in the end, even though he is still dealing with the consequences. There is this great scene between Ned, MJ, and Spider-Man in their apartment that was nothing but pure joy. It was wonderful to watch, and it really tickled your heart. I love that scene. Speaking of moments, MJ has two scenes that may have been the most emotional scenes in the entire movie. Bravo to Zendaya. So yeah, the use of MJ and Ned in this movie were just wonderful. It was such a delight. Then we got Sadie Sink's character, who I still won't say who she's playing, but if you know, you know. I thought she was good. I liked her character. May have come off a little too much like Max in Stranger Things, but I still liked her character. And I felt her actions in the film were justified in a way. In terms of her backstory, what we know, and her motivations, and just the world she's kind of growing up in her view, and how she treated Peter, because in her mind, Peter is the villain. Peter is the enemy. So it kind of made sense. And I guarantee she is going to have to deal with her actions in this movie in future films. I truly believe that. I walked out liking her character and was definitely curious to see what they do with her in the future. Then there's Frank, who is a very rated R-like character. So I was very curious to see how he was going to be used in this film. And I gotta say, I think they did a great job with him. I think everyone thinks that. What impressed me the most is how they wrote him in a way that stayed true to the character, but also was written in a way, if you were someone who had never seen Jon Bernthal's Punisher, you would have gotten the gist of his character. I'm still a little confused in the continuity of Frank. I mean, is he still a wanted man? Because it didn't seem like the police were after him at all in this movie. And he's like just driving around in his van with the Punisher logo on it. So I was a little confused there, but I think that was kind of one of those take it or leave it kind of things. But yeah, I hope we see him again on the big screen. I don't know for what, but who knows. But definitely one of the things I love most about the film is the message, or at least one of the messages, on how important it is to form connections and relationships with others. That it's not enough to be kind from a distance. Forming a special bond with each other is really what gives our lives meaning. So yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day is an incredible film with incredibly written characters and a wonderful message, and it needs to be seen on the big screen. And I gotta say, it has quite the rewatchability to it. I wanted to watch it again after like 24 hours. Definitely gonna be buying it on digital when it comes out. So yeah, guys, that's why I want to talk about this film. It's definitely going to be one of the best films of the year for me. I had a great time. It was so much fun. It got me a little more excited about Doomsday. But tell me what you guys thought of the movie. Leave your comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button. All right, guys. That'll be it for me today. Ciao.